All right, let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons. Look, we have to discuss what occurred in the final 2 minutes of the Falcons-Buccaneers game and the absolutely officiating disaster that happened with that roughing the passer call against the Atlanta Falcons on quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield. Now, before we get into the details of this, I have to say this now because I know there's a lot of people, and every time we do one of these officiating reviews, a lot of people come out in the woodwork in the comments section and say, "Oh, you're just a disappointed Falcons fan." Not true. I'm not a fan of the Atlanta Falcons. You can look back through our history of officiating reviews. We cover every single team basically in terms of when calls happen and when calls don't happen, when they should versus when they shouldn't. Our goal here is just to shed some light and add some information and context to these officiating debacles so that way everyone understands what the problem is and hopefully we can bring more attention to it so that way it gets resolved so that we hopefully eliminate more of these officiating problems going forward. With that put aside, let's go ahead and pull up the play in question here. So this was, of course, in the 2-minute situation. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield has the football. You can see on the screen, he scrambles right there. He throws it away, and that's what they call roughing the passer, right? We're going to play it again just on loop a few times here, just that way everyone get the full context, right? This is just, again, it looks like a very ordinary scramble. There's nothing very malignant there. There's no malice intent. There's no diving for the knees. We'll get into the rule book here for a second because I think that's really important because the more you watch this play as a Falcons fans, the more angry I would get because the more you see this context happen, it looks like the most benign pressure in the world, right? You've got Rulebook, I think that's who that is, chasing him down laterally. He's running his butt off. He's throwing up his hands to try and deflect the pass, but he doesn't hit the head. His body weight doesn't fall on him. He doesn't throw him late, right? It's one of those things. So they call this, you can see the flag there at the end of the play. They call this roughing the passer. And I'm going to try and freeze frame it right at contact right there. That's pretty crazy to sit there and say that's roughing the passer. What about there? I mean, literally, Roro gets the worst of it. He face plants, and Baker Mayfield kind of stumbles, and he sells it a little bit. So that's what the play looked like, okay? All right, let's go ahead and look at the rules, because I think that's very important. I know this is the boring part, but I think you got to open up the NFL rulebook and say, okay, what exactly is supposed to be called, and how is it supposed to be called? So this is from the roughing the passing section of the rulebook, and this I'll just try and keep it high level, because there's going to be a lot of different things here. But let's just go through it. Roughing will be called if, in the referee's judgment, a pass rusher clearly should have known that the ball had already left the passer's hand before contact was made. Pass rushers are responsible for being aware of the position of the ball in passing situations. The referee will use the release of the ball from the passer's hand as a guidance that the passer is now fully protected. Okay, so it keeps going. A rushing defender may direct contact with passer only up through the pass rusher's first step after such release, prior to second step hitting the ground. Okay. So this is in the pocket. So we're only talking in the pocket, but let's just apply the strictest interpretation of this rule here. Let's go back to the situation here, right? This is the strictest interpretation of roughing the passer, right? There's a scramble, there's a scramble. All right, ball's gone, and it may be less than a step, right? I'm going to try and catch this again, guys. It's going to be really, really hard because it's really close. Let me see if I can freeze frame it just right here. As Mayfield scrambling, ball's gone, okay? So by this for one step, and there's that one step. Okay, so even in the strictest interpretation of the rule, that's not roughing the passer. Okay, let's keep going here. A rushing defender, section B here, is prohibited from committing such intimidating and punishing acts as stuffing the passer into the ground or unnecessarily wrestling or driving him down after the passer has thrown the ball, even if the rusher makes his initial contact with the passer within the one-step limitation provided for in A above. So again, this is one of those things, it's a newer rule where you can't like pick up the quarterback and body slam him or nothing like that. Obviously, I already showed that didn't happen at all. He got the worst of it. The ground hit him a lot harder than he hit Baker Mayfield. So this paragraph here doesn't apply. It doesn't even come close to applying. All right, moving down the rule book here. In covering the passer position, referees will be particularly alert to fouls by which defenders impermissibly use the helmet and or face mask to hit the passer, or use your hands, arms, or other parts of the body to hit the passer forcibly in the head or neck area. All right, so this is hitting the quarterback in the head, basically, right? And this is, or spearing, like the NFL targeting kind of thing, right? Or the college targeting, excuse me. All right, so let's see if this happens. Does he hit him in the head? Does he have like the targeting thing where he uses his helmet as a weapon? All right, let's pull up the replay here. Again, we're going to go through the entire thing. Just try and be as unbiased as possible, guys. Just neutral arbiter. Does he hit him in the head? Right? No, I don't see it there. Do you guys see it? Do you guys see him using anything as a weapon? Right? Does he launch at him? Does he spear him? Does he lower his helmet into him? Does he hit him in the head? No, not even remotely close. Okay, so we can sit there and say that doesn't apply. All right, let's keep going. A rushing defender is prohibited from forcibly hitting in the knee area or below a passer, which is one or both feet on the ground, even if the initial contact is above the knee. It is not a foul if the defender is blocked or fouled into the passer and has no opportunity to avoid him. A defender cannot initiate a roller or lunge or forcibly hit the passer in the knee area or below, even if he's being contacted by another player. It is not a foul if the defender swipes or grabs the passer in the knee area or below an attempt to tackle him, provided he does not make forcible contact with the helmet, shoulder, or chest. All right, let's go back to it. I think we can all agree this pretty much wasn't the case here. This is the old Tom Brady rule, right? Did he hit him directly in the knee? Did he fall into his knee around the ankle, knee area to cause damage? And no, he kind of grabs him up high around the shoulder and then kind of slides down, right? So this rule, that rule, Tom Brady rule, doesn't apply. Okay, let's keep going, right? There's a few more rules here. So far we're 0 for, but maybe something shows up. All right, next rule here. A passer who is standing still or fading backward after the ball has left his hand is obviously out of play and must not be unnecessarily contacted by an opponent through the end of the down or until the passer becomes a blocker, runner, or in the event of a change of possession during the down until he assumes a distinctly defensive position. So basically what this is saying is, like, after the ball's thrown, you can't just go out there and kill the quarterback, right? 10 seconds have gone, right? Even if it's a turnover, right? As long as he has to be in a defensive position. If he's just fading away and you go and hit him, that's a foul, right? This is the oldest interpretation of roughing the passer, going back to like the 1930s. For anyone who cares about NFL history, quarterbacks or passers of that era, they weren't necessarily called quarterbacks back then. That's a whole nother history lesson. Is that they would have to like run for their lives after they throw the football, because they throw the ball deep. People would be trying to tackle the receiver and they'd have defensive linemen just trying to kill them, right? So this is sort of the oldest, most basic interpretation. They've modified this over the years to protect in terms of a change of possession, but clearly this rule doesn't apply here. So, okay, we're 0 for 5. Let's keep going here. All right, final paragraph here. When the passer goes outside the pocket area and either continues moving with the ball without attempting to advance the ball as a runner, okay, this sounds kind of like what we saw here, or throws while on the run, this is where it gets interesting. This is exactly, okay, this is the rule. He loses the protection of the one-step rule provided for in Section A above and the protection against the low hit provided for in D above, but he remains covered by all other aspects of the protections afforded to the passer. So basically the one-step rule goes away and you can hit him low. Okay, so this is really important. This is why I save for last. Let's go back and watch this, guys. You can see as this unfolds, it's literally what happens with Mayfield. He's scrambling outside the pocket to throw. He's not an attempted runner. Again, I think it's still within the one-step rule, but let's say let's count the steps here, guys. Let's totally sit there and say, okay, the one-step protection is gone. All right, ball's gone. Contact made at the second step, right after the first step. So again, we're talking still within one step, in my opinion. But I think if you're like really, really strict and really tough and be the most aggressive thing against the Falcons, Ruke Roro here, it's at the two-step point. So we're talking about even this rule, which is the exact rule to apply to this situation. There is no roughing the passer. And this is a problem, right? And this is why I try to be as much charitable as I can during the officiating, because this was a close game, right? Everyone remembers this was a 1st and 10 situation throughout the Atlanta 40, right? At this point, they're down by 3. They're trying to tie the game up or take the go-ahead touchdown. They're not in field goal range yet. They're on the hairy edge. This is a throwaway. Okay, it's 2nd and 10 inside 2 minutes. What happens next? Everyone knows it's a short throw to try and get closer to field goal range. Both teams then let the clock wind down a little bit, try and be a little passive, and then it's a big 3rd down to see if the Buccaneers can make it a closer field goal. If not, then they'll kick the field goal, and then we'll play for overtime after that, most likely. But instead, what happens is the Buccaneers get the free 15 and the clock stoppage. So now they have multiple shots at the end zone comfortably within field goal range. Completely changed the dynamic of the game. Now, I'm not saying the Falcons lost because of this play. Mike Hughes has to do a better job covering Ibuka, and they got to make the head kick, and there's a bunch of other plays that the Falcons could have made, and there were other bad calls in the course of the game, some that hurt Atlanta, some that helped Atlanta. But here's the problem with this rule here specifically, is that there are some penalties that are called where you're like, yeah, that's technically a foul, but it shouldn't have been called, or that's a little ticky-tacky, or wow, that was a foul and that was missed. This is a situation right here where as a defender, you do nothing wrong. By the letter of the rule book, there is no violation. There's nothing even remotely close. And to me, that's a huge problem. This is something that cannot be called at any point in the game. But when you consider the situation, right, we're talking a close divisional game. This game will have playoff implications. If Atlanta would have won this game, a completely different opportunity when we get in December, January. I guarantee you this will matter towards the end of the season. But now that we have a larger gambling focus on the National Football League, now that we have a lot more money on the game than ever before, these things are going to really start standing out, right? Because this is a situation right here where this call could have set things in motion that turned away basically what this call did, guys, if we're being honest, it eliminated, for all intents and purposes, a Buccaneers loss in regular time, right? The only way the Buccaneers could have lost the game after this foul probably would have been in overtime, barring if they would have shanked the easy kick, right? That would have been the only way they would have lost, or some funky turnover. What this call did here is eliminated a Buccaneers loss in regular time. This is huge. This is massive. You're talking about millions of dollars and tens of millions of dollars, and gambling alone, just based on that change, That's something the NFL has to keep an eye on, and this is something that has to get resolved. There is no violation. I went through the rules. I was as charitable as I possibly could, right? I didn't give my opinion in terms of football should be played this way. I looked at the rule book, right? That's from the NFL's website. I didn't just pull it off a random source on social media. I literally looked at the NFL's rule book, looked at the website, and I went through all of their paragraphs and we looked at the footage together, guys, just trying to be as honest as we can. And we didn't see a foul, not once, not even close, right? And I'm not saying this to hate on Tampa. I think Tampa made the plays to win. Atlanta didn't, right? And there's a lot of other plays the Falcons will have to look back on and say, we should have done this better. I think that's fair. But the reality is when it came right down to it, the referee, the officials, by the interpretation of this rule, completely flipped the dynamic of the game in its most crucial part, and that's something the NFL has to stop. This is something that has to end, and we're going to keep covering these calls over the course of the season, guys. So Falcons fans, you may see more of these, hopefully not against you. Maybe there'll be some where it works out in your favor, but we don't care on this channel. We're going to cover it just unbiased and as just neutral arbiters saying, okay, where is the NFL getting these wrong, and how can we correct it going forward? I think this is an example of a total travesty, a debacle. This is something that's the clearest example that has to get fixed when it comes to the National Football League.